This is going to be a very brief and quick overview of all the characters available on launch. However, this is just a pre-release analysis, and I will be going further into detail when the game launches and I'm able to actually test out the characters myself. First off, we're going to start with the 4-star resonators. First one being Alto. Reading through Alto's abilities, the main things I've noticed is that he has a guaranteed heavy attack crit every 30 seconds, an active stamina recovery, and his main ability is summoning Mist. Now, what this Mist supposedly allows him to do is when he shoots through it, he gets an attack bonus, and when he walks through it, he is also able to get a movement speed bonus. Alto's main role would be a DPS or sub DPS. Baiji. This is going to be our main starting healer, as it's the only free-to-play healer we'll have access to. She is able to summon a field to buff attack for 15% over 20 seconds. Her main scaling is HP, and she is able to heal max HP on heavy attacks. She's also able to heal the entire party of her max HP for 3 seconds every 30 seconds, plus giving in a damage boost. Her main role is a glacial healer / buffer. Chixia is a fusion sub DPS. Her main gimmick is that she has a stacking attack bonus every time she attacks up to 30 times. As a sub DPS, she has an AoE burst that does massive fusion damage. Danjin is a Havoc main DPS. The main point here is she trades her own HP for damage. If you've ever played Genshin, this is pretty much the same exact mechanic as Hu Tao. Her skills boost heavy attacks. She also has stacking points, which she is able to release an empowered attack at some point that also heals her. Plus, she has an increased havoc damage buff. Mortefi is a fusion sub DPS / buffer. He is able to add damage to other attacks, such as your main DPS, stacking to 50. The more you attack, the more bonus damage you get. He also boosts heavy attack damage. Now we have Senhuo. She is a glacial sub DPS. She is able to summon air blades and frostbite area. And her main buff is that she is able to boost basic attack damage, which works pretty well with Ling Yang. Tao Qi is a Havoc sub DPS. She is able to heal herself, has a defense multiplier, so building defense is crucial for her. She is able to recover stamina with her attacks and abilities, and her main boost is resonant skill damage. Yang Yang is an arrow crowd control unit. She is able to gather enemies, buffer them mid-air with an intro skill of boosting her own arrow damage. Her main buff is resonant energy recovery. Yan Wu is an electro buffer / sub DPS. Now his buffs aren't that big, as all I've that really noticed is he's able to increase resistance to interruptions for the entire team. But he also has potential for main DPS, as he's able to buff his own electro damage by a lot. So I would only recommend using him as either a sub DPS or a main DPS, as his kit is mostly selfish. Same thing with Colcharo, he's an electro main DPS. Every time he dodges, he gets an empowered electro attack. His heavy attacks increase resonance liberation damage, and his resonance liberation reduce damage taken, which means he basically buffs his own damage while also becoming more tanky. Now his entire kit mainly revolves around increasing his own DPS output, and his ability Shadow Raid is a front AoE / acting as a big burst. Encore is a fusion main DPS. Encore does bonus increased damage when she's above 70% HP, so it is crucial to have a healer on your team with her. Her abilities increase fusion damage, and her main gimmick is Dissonance. When she fills up her Dissonance bar and uses the ability, she takes 70% less damage and then consumes all stacks to do massive burst damage. She also has the skill of an AoE burning field on the skilled target, acting as a Molotov. Jiang Xin is an arrow crowd control / main DPS unit. She's able to group enemies, get a shield, and heal herself, and most of her damage comes from increasingly ramping stacks as she increases from rank 1 to 4. Her buff is that she increases liberation damage. Jian is a main arrow DPS. His skit allows him to have a lot of movement with his attacks, while he buffs his own crit rate that is able to stack, and increases his own basic and heavy attacks. He can also spawn a dragon to do burst damage with his attacks. The main thing I've noticed here is his entire kit revolves to sticking to targets so he can keep refreshing his buffs. Lin Yang is a main DPS who is able to do bonus glacial damage, and his kit revolves around using basic attacks. His bonus is that he has a shockwave on skilled target, which acts as a burst AoE damage. Rover is Spectral. Now, Rover is pretty versatile. The best part about Rover is his stasis surrounding around himself / herself for 3 seconds, which will allow you to use Rover as more of a support unit so that your main DPS will have more time to attack. Now, Verena is a spectral healer / buffer. In terms of a healer, she's the best one currently available in the game, and the only 5-star resonator that is able to heal. She's able to restore HP for the party while dealing damage. She can protect from 1 fatal hit once every 10 minutes. Her outro skill is that she boosts attack by 20%, which means she's also a really good buffer. She's able to restore Concerto energy and HP with heavy attacks for the party. And Verena recovers HP, scaling with attack for herself, while also boosting damage dealt for the entire party. Yin Lin is an Electro sub-DPS. She's able to increase her own critical rate after using a resonance skill, give herself massive damage buffs, and is in general a good burst DPS kit that doesn't really involve around buffing her team rather than buffing herself, and relying on burst damage. She also boosts electro damage and resonance liberation damage. Now, in the end, the couple things I've noticed while going through this video is that switching in and out your characters is highly recommended so you're able to keep reactivating all of their boosts. And heavy attacks play a crucial role in this game to trigger some of their boosts, so don't forget to do heavy attacks. Yeah, and that was all. Thank you for watching, and this was Rek.